All right. So yeah, let's continue with our session. So we have seen that Selenium, it supports multiple browsers. All sort of browsers are supported. Different operating system are supported. Multiple languages are supported, and these are some of the components in Selenium like IDE, RC, WebDriver, and Grid. So yesterday when we started, we have seen one example of record and play. IDE is only and only for record and play. So like every automation tool, if you talk about QTP UFT as well, there's a record and play feature, but the record and play feature of QTP UFT is quite huge as compared to Selenium because they have invested most of the part in the record and play feature itself, right? Whereas in case of Selenium, it's just a small plugin which records all the actions that you perform on the web page, and it basically gives you the script that you can do manipulation with. But that scripting is not at all complex, that we cannot write it like using the plain Java code. At times we need to do a lot of manipulations. So and not only manipulations, we need to do a lot of integrations as well. Like we have seen Selenium, there are a lot of integrations. Like we need to integrate TestNG, we need to integrate Log4j, JDBC, Excel, POI API. A lot of integrations are there. In case you are using record and play, you'll not be able to use all this stuff. So that is one of the major reason why record and play is not in use in Selenium, right? So in Selenium, companies are not focusing on IDE. Companies are only focusing on WebDriver. And we have seen current version of Selenium, that is 3.141.59. Right? Priyansh is saying that is not able to hear me. Just a moment, guys. Audio option as computer audio. So just make sure whenever you are connected, you should be connected through the computer audio. Otherwise, you will not be able to hear me. All right. So then there are some other components as well in Selenium. Something called as RC, which is remote control. Now, if I talk about the history of Selenium, Selenium first came into the life in 2006. Do you know which is the developer behind Selenium, who started this Selenium? Which company owns Selenium? Which company came up with Selenium? Anyone knows? Which company came up with Selenium? Google? Mercury? HP? No. So it's ThoughtWorks. Exactly. So ThoughtWorks is the one who started this project. And a developer behind the same was Jason Huggins. So he's the man behind this Selenium project. Now, in order to automate his couple of projects, he has actually created a JavaScript runner. That was a very small tool. If in case you go to the main website of Selenium, that is selenium.dev, you should be able to see the history about Selenium over here. This is the history. So you can go through this complete history. There's a whole big story behind it. In 2004, it was started by Jason Huggins. He has created a JavaScript test runner to automate his internal time and expense application, right? So then there's another developer from ThoughtWorks who jumped into it, and they thought of creating some open source tool, and they came up with a name called as Selenium. Now, why only Selenium? There is a history behind that as well. Because in 2004, there was another popular automation tool, which we know with the name as QTP. And QTP, which company owns QTP? In the time 2004, who was the owner of QTP? HP has taken over QTP now. Initially, it was Mercury, exactly. So in 2004, Mercury was like the owner of QTP. Prior to that, it was Windrunner, right? Later on, HP has taken over it. Now, I believe you have heard about Mercury, not the company, but in general terms. What is Mercury? I believe most of you have seen mercury as well, right? In thermometers, right? It's a poisonous element, right? So there's a saying that if thermometer breaks, if someone intake that mercury, then he'll gonna die. So if someone intakes mercury, we give him an antidote so that he may survive, and that antidote is selenium. So that is the reason they have given this project name as Selenium. So to end the market of QTB mercury. And up to such an extent, they are successful as well. Not just because of the cost, there are n number of factors behind it which makes Selenium one of the most powerful automation tool or an API and very popular as well. So we're going to talk about all those features, right, as soon as we proceed. And then what happened in 2006 or 2007, there's another developer basically from Google named Simon Stewart. So if I go down over here, see Google do jumped into it. Now when Jason Huggins he started this project, that is Selenium, the very first components he has actually designed was IDE and RC. IDE for a record and play part, and RC is the coding library. Coding library, as in there was only one single class with the name as default Selenium. So this was the very first class that they have created, default Selenium. And in this class, they have kept all the methods that you need to call and you need to automate your website. Method like, let's say you want to launch a browser. There's a method called as start. They have written a code inside it. You call this method, it will going to launch a browser. You want to navigate to a website, there's a method called as open, which accepts a URL, something like this. Then after navigating, you want to get the title of the page. They have created a method called as get title. If you call this method, it will going to return you the title of that page. Then after getting the title, you want to click on any button or any link. They have created a method called as click. Then they have created a method called as type. In case you want to type it into an input field, a text box, you need to call the method as type. So that is how they have created a huge collection of methods, and they have kept it inside one single class with the name as default Selenium. In case you want to see this class, I can show it to you as well. For that, you actually need to navigate, go to download, and over here, if you go a little down, you will see different programming languages over here. So we are starting with the Java part. So click on the API docs. If you click on this, you should be able to see a lot of classes over here, a lot of classes. You can see all this is a huge list, which is there in the recent version of Selenium. It was not there at the time of Selenium RC. RC library was very small. There was only one major class. And if you go down, you're going to find that class that is default Selenium. So this was the class created by thoughtworks.com. And you can see they've clearly mentioned that the RC will be removed in Selenium 3. Please migrate to using WebDriver. So it means RC is no more there in the market. So after Selenium 3, RC is gone from the market. If you go down, you're going to see something called as method summary. So these are the list of methods that they have created inside this class. Method like, in case you want to capture a screenshot, there is a method called as capture screenshot. All methods are very straightforward. If in case you want to toggle a checkbox or a radio button, call the method check. This is actually going to check or uncheck. Then if in case you want to click on a link, button, checkbox, radio button, there is a method called as click. If you want to close the browser, there is a method called as close. So this is basically a huge collection of methods, but all the methods are kept inside one single class only. If you go down, you're going to see the last method over here that is window maximize, which resize currently selected window to take up to the entire screen. So in case you want to maximize the window, just simply call this method window maximize. And it was very simple to work in RC. How? Just keep on calling methods one by one after creating an object of this class default Selenium. So yesterday we have seen how we create an object of a class. We simply write it like this: default Selenium, create some variable ABC or give it a meaningful name. Let's say Selenium equal to new default Selenium. This is how we create an object of this class. And in case you want to call method, you simply need to say selenium.start, selenium.start, and keep on calling methods one by one. So when you call this method start, it will gonna launch a browser. After launching a browser, you want to navigate to a website. So you're gonna call another method that is called as selenium.open and provide the URL over here. That is http, let's say google.com. After that, you want to get the title of the page. So say selenium.get title. You want to click somewhere on some button or some link. So I'm going to say selenium.click. You want to type something, say selenium.type. And that's it. That is how you should be working. I mean, in case you're using Selenium RC, you need to write this much code. And this is very straightforward. If you look at the code, you should be able to read it very easily. It is very easy to understand. Start, open, get title, click, type. If you run this, it will gonna perform all the actions on the browser. So it was very easy to work on Selenium RC. But there are a lot of challenges involved when Selenium RC was created. So this is like a plain code. How this code is performing action on your browser. This is a plain Java code. How is this code communicating with your browser? So initially, when Selenium RC was created, whenever you run this code, behind the architecture, Selenium RC, it injects JavaScript on browser. So I hope you guys have heard about JavaScript. I'm not saying that you know the language JavaScript, but you must have heard about what JavaScript is, where JavaScript runs. So where JavaScript runs? So have you heard about JavaScript, where it runs? It runs on the front end, on the client browser, on the browser itself. Exactly. So see, prior to Selenium as well, like we can automate stuff using simple JavaScript as well. If I'm a JavaScript developer, I need not to call these methods of Selenium. I can simply write my JavaScript code and I can perform action on my web page. I can click on this, I can click on this, I can like type in an input box, I can perform any action on the web page if I know JavaScript. But JavaScript is little tricky to write. I mean, in case you want to click on any link, the code should look something like this: document.get element, then by ID something like this, and then dot click. So this is something similar to JavaScript, a syntax of JavaScript, but this is little tricky. For a beginner, for a tester, this could be a little tricky. I mean, if you talk about selenium.click, this is very straightforward. But if you talk about this is little tricky to understand. So what they did, they wrapped this particular code inside the click method. So ultimately, as an end tester, as an end user, you are actually calling click method. But what this click method is doing, this is actually injecting JavaScript on your browser. So all the methods of Selenium RC, when you call them, it is actually going to run directly on your browser by injecting JavaScript. So that is what the architecture of Selenium RC. But there are a lot of drawbacks. There are a lot of drawbacks of this JavaScript as well. In 2004 or 2006, there was one of the major browser that people used to work with, that is IE, that is Internet Explorer. So if you have Internet Explorer, if you have ever worked on IE, you may have noticed somewhere around here on the status bar, just a moment. If you have noticed, over here at the status bar, there's a yellow triangle that shows up. I'm not sure, I mean, if you guys have worked on IE, because IE is quite an old browser these days. I mean, very few people are using IE. Although there are still old applications that still runs only and only on IE. But now most of the people have switched to Chrome, to Edge, to Firefox, different browsers. So when we used to work on IE, this is some sort of yellow triangle at times we face when we navigate to any particular website. This yellow triangle is basically a JavaScript alert, a JavaScript warning. So IE is a highly secured browser. IE does not allow any third-party JavaScript to be injected into its browser. This is because when we say JavaScript runs on the client end, if I am a JavaScript developer, I can write such a script, I can write such a code that when you navigate to my website, it will inject some JavaScript on your browser and can fetch your credit card information or stored cookies or whatever information, username, password you have stored, it can easily fetch from your browser. I can write some hacking code as well in JavaScript, because JavaScript injects directly onto the browser. It runs on the browser. So IE, being a secured browser, it actually blocks that JavaScript injection. But on the other end, if we talk about Selenium RC architecture, it says that Selenium RC injects JavaScript on browser. And when you run Selenium RC code on IE, you get a big blocker saying that script cannot be executed further, because RC is injecting JavaScript and IE is blocking that JavaScript. Right? So on the other end, Selenium guys, they say they support IE as a browser as well. Then how they support IE as a browser? So there was a workaround. In case you want to still work on IE, you want to automate your website using IE browser only, then you need to go to settings, internet options, security. You need to remove all these security modes. Means you need to remove the entire security parameter from your browser. Then you should be able to run your Selenium RC code and should be able to inject JavaScript on your browser. But at times what happens that there are websites with HTTPS, there are websites with SSL certificates. If you remove the security parameters, then you'll start getting these sort of warnings. You may have noticed these warnings if I show it to you. If I go to Google Images, something like this: the site security certificate is not trusted, or connection is not private, something like this. If you remove security from your browser and accessing some HTTPS, a secured website, or a SSL certificate website, then you'll start receiving these sort of warnings. So ultimately, if the website will not gonna launch, what will we automate? So that was one of the biggest challenge when people used to work on RC. And not only this, if you look at this library, there are limited methods over here. If you even count these methods, these could be somewhere around 200 or 300 methods, not more than that. It means the functionality, in case I write a test case to automate a login window, even to automate, even to manual test that login window, I end up writing 8 to 10 test cases with different permutation and combination. And it doesn't mean that for all permutation and combination, there's a method available in this library. Like for clicking, there is a method. For typing, there is a method. But at times, if I have a test case that I want to get text for all links on this website, I want to validate all links. I want to see what is the total count of link. I want to print text for each and every link. So let us see if there is any method available over here or not. I got one method that is get all links. So what it returns? It returns IDs of all the link on the page. I'm not interested in IDs. I want text from all the links. You're not going to find any such method in this library which will actually automate this particular test case. So this is a major drawback, right? This single class has got very limited methods. And when we are automating a website, when we are doing testing, we do a lot of permutation and combination. And it doesn't mean that for everything that you need to handle, you're going to find a method over here. So if a method is not there, you cannot automate the entire website. You cannot automate that particular test case. So this is another drawback of using RC. So all these drawbacks were actually recognized by one person in 2006. So this project was actually started in 2004, not 2006. So around 2006 and 2007, there's a developer at Google named Simon Stewart. So he was a lead developer who have seen all the challenges of the Selenium project, and in order to overcome all these challenges, he started another project parallel to Selenium RC, which is called as WebDriver. So Simon Stewart is the one who is the lead developer who initially started this WebDriver project at Google. And Google itself is a very heavy user of Selenium. Lot of functionalities are designed by Google developers itself. Not just Google, even Facebook developers, even like big organizations have contributed into the development of this project. This is because it's an open source project. And open source means anyone can contribute into the development part as well. Open source means it is free of cost, no license, but anyone can contribute into the development part as well. So many big developers from big organizations have actually contributed into the development of this WebDriver. Now, how WebDriver overcome the issues that were faced in initial Selenium version, that is Selenium 1.0, Selenium RC. So the very first thing they did is they removed this JavaScript injection from the architecture. So whatever issues that was coming due to this JavaScript injection, if we remove it from the architecture, then all the browser will gonna support it. Right, and how they have removed it, we're gonna come to that point. The other drawback was only one single class implementation. In case of WebDriver, what they did, they created different classes for every browser. In case you want to work on Chrome, you're gonna find a class called as Chrome driver. You want to work on Firefox, there's a class called as Firefox driver. To support IE, there's a dedicated class called as Internet Explorer driver. There's a class called as Edge driver, Safari driver. For every browser, you're gonna find a class. Not only this, even to support every functionality, you're gonna see classes over here. It's a huge collection of classes. And in every class, you're gonna find hundreds of methods. Anything that you need to automate, you're gonna find some class over here. It's a huge collection of library. So WebDriver is quite huge. And not only this, they have created WebDriver in such a way that even if a class is not here, you can use basic Java, you can integrate it with Selenium, and you can achieve that functionality. Like we have seen, there is no class for Excel reading, but we want to do Excel reading and writing. So we can integrate POI API from Apache with our Selenium project, and we can do reading, writing from Excel. There is no class for test case designing. So we are going to integrate TestNG Java framework. And we're going to see some classes from TestNG, some annotations from TestNG. So that is how they have built up this project. There are no boundaries of Selenium because Selenium is not a tool. If we talk about QTP, UFT, RFT, other automation tools, every automation tool has got some boundary. Boundary in the sense, let's say if I talk about UFT, Selenium RC initially got 200 functionality. QTP is quite huge. It might have 1000 functionality. But again, when we are automating our website, we are limited to that 1000 functionality only. And at times it happens in QTP and UFT as well. If at times I need to automate a particular scenario and there is no functionality in QTP UFT, then I go to HP and ask for an add-on. They sell their add-ons as well to support that particular functionality. So you need to buy that add-on. Now that add-on is also created by a developer. At times the add-on is there, at times the add-on is not there. So if the add-on is not there, then again you are restricted. You cannot automate that particular functionality because you are limited to what that tool is offering. In case of Selenium, Selenium is not a tool. There is no boundary. Anything that is feasible in Java or any programming language, you can achieve that thing with Selenium. That is one of the best reasons to use Selenium in automation. Right? Any functionality you want to automate, just Google around it. You'll get that particular API integrated with Selenium and automate that functionality. That too without paying any license. So that is one of the best reason to work with Selenium as an automation tool. Right, so all these things were actually overcome in WebDriver. WebDriver was officially launched in 2011 July. So it's like 9 years now, more than 9 years that WebDriver is there in the industry. Right, and every day like Selenium popularity is growing like anything. Every automation job, every manual testing job, you're gonna find Selenium. Right, so this is about the brief history. Rest you can study it from the main website. There's a lot of good documentation available over here. So this website is quite rich in documentation part as well. So this is the brief history and this is the documentation. So in case you want to study about the introduction, how to configure Selenium, install WebDriver, so a lot of things are there, right? So just try going through this documentation as well. So this is the very first Selenium code, but it looks little tricky because they started with interfaces and all this stuff. So initially, if you are good in Java, you should be able to understand it. But if you are not, then we're gonna take you up till this point very soon. Right, so we're gonna start with very small examples, and then we're gonna make it very interesting for the automation part. All right, so this is about the brief history. Now, the final component in Selenium is grid. So what is grid? What is Selenium grid? Anyone? What is grid? Hub node architecture. It's a hub, multiple browser, parallel execution, executing same test parallel in multiple browsers for parallel test execution. That's great. So see, parallel test execution is actually not a task of grid. Parallel test execution is done with the help of your framework, which actually execute sequential test or parallel test. And that task is done with the help of your framework, that is TestNG. TestNG executes your test cases parallel or in a sequence, right? Grid task is to distribute your test cases onto remote machines. Means if I show you the architecture of grid, let's say if I over here, so grid is something like this. In grid we have a hub machine, we have multiple node machines. So hub machine, this is a main machine where you have all your, let's say, 1000 test cases kept over here, right? Like, let's say we are on an intranet, we are in an organization where there are multiple machines. One machine I can create it as a hub, the other machine I can create it as a node. So this is node 1. This could be a window machine running IE on it. This is a node 2 machine. This could be a Linux machine running Firefox on it, and this is a Node 3 machine. So this is a third machine, let's say a Mac machine running Chrome on it. So all these machines are connected to this hub, to the main machine over the intranet. So now what I can do, I can run my test from this hub machine, and I can ask my framework to run them parallel on remote machines. Or you can distribute as well. So run, let's say 300 test cases over here, run 300 test cases over here, run 400 test cases over here. This is how I can configure, but all my test cases are kept over here. Once I run it, it will gonna execute on remote machines. And we're gonna work at times. What happens, you may have heard about something called as browser compatibility testing. In manual testing, we do browser compatibility testing. What happens in browser compatibility testing? Whatever functionality that we have tested on one particular browser, we need to test it on a different browser as well. This is because client end user could use any browser. He could use Chrome, he could use Safari, he could use Edge, right? Our website should be working on all browsers. Our functionality should work on all browsers. So at times, if I have 1000 test cases written and I'm testing it on Firefox manually, same stuff I need to do it on IE as well. Same stuff I need to do it on Edge as well. So if, and not only browsers, I need to make sure that the website is working fine on Mac, on Linux, on Windows as well. So in case I want to execute 1000 test cases on different operating system, different browsers, it will gonna take a huge amount of time. Or either I can allocate all resources in my team, 7 to 8 resources, and they'll start doing, like, executing the same test cases on one is executing on Firefox, one is doing on Chrome, one is doing on IE. Again, this is going to take a huge effort. Complete team is involved in it. So grid basically automates the entire process. There is no physical presence, right? You just keep all your test cases on one machine, make it as a hub, connect all different machines with different browsers and OS, run your test from hub, and you'll see the same test cases will be executed on remote machine with the help of this grid architecture. That is what grid is. Grid is for remote execution of your test case. Whether you need to execute it parallel or in a sequence, that is decided by your TestNG framework. So we're going to see the implementation of grid as well. Once we move to the grid part, I'm going to show you practically how we can execute our test on remote machines as well, parallel and sequential both. So that is what the fourth component, that is after WebDriver, we have seen grid. So this is what IDE, RC, WebDriver grid. IDE was a part of 1.0. WebDriver, when WebDriver came into the market, officially launched in July 2011, it was merged with the initial Selenium project. That is the reason we call it as Selenium WebDriver, and the version Selenium 2.0. And this release went up to 2.53.1. So Selenium 2 was started with 2.0 and it ended up, the last build was 5.3.1, 2.53.1. And after that, they have introduced Selenium 3. And this Selenium 3 is the last build of Selenium 3 is 141.59, which is last and the current build. So currently organizations are working on this. So in 1.0, you're going to find ID, RC, and grid. In 2.0, you're gonna find ID, RC, WebDriver, and grid. So I'll write it over here. 1.0 was IDE, RC, and grid 1. In 2.0, when 2.0 launched in the market, people were still using Selenium RC. So all of a sudden they say that stop using RC, move to WebDriver. Now they said that, I mean, we already have our projects built up in RC, right? We are still using RC. We need some time to move to WebDriver. So what they did in 2.0, they have added RC as well as WebDriver in the same library. So in case you are using Selenium 2, you can work on RC as well and you can work on WebDriver as well. And then we have grid 2 in Selenium 2. But they have clearly mentioned that RC will be removed in future. So when 3.0 came into the market, you're going to find ID, you're going to find WebDriver, and you're going to find grid 3. And now Selenium 4 is going to hit the market very soon, which is currently at the alpha stage. So Selenium 4 has got very good features, some additional locators. So what are those things? We'll be able to understand once we know a little bit about Selenium. Right? I have actually recorded a couple of lectures on Selenium 4 as well that I'm going to share it with you, right? For the new features that is actually going to hit the market soon. But Selenium 4 is not very stable at the moment. So companies are using 3.1 for 1.59. Okay, one of the question, can we execute Selenium in virtual environment using? Yes, you can execute it on virtual environment, on cloud environment, right? So all these things are feasible. Okay, so that's about the Selenium components. And now we have seen the prerequisite. The prerequisite to get started with Selenium is you need to have JDK 1.8 configured. You need to have Eclipse. This we have already downloaded. IDE. Eclipse IDE is not like Selenium IDE. It's an integrated development environment. And then you need to have the Selenium Jar, right? So JDK we have already downloaded and installed JDK. Once you install Java, you will gonna see it inside your C drive program files, and under that you're gonna see a folder of Java over here. For desktop applications, Selenium is not used. I mean, Selenium is only for web-based applications. So inside this JDK, you're gonna find a bin folder, and here you're gonna find your Java. Now, at times, what happens? You integrate a lot of other components with Selenium, like Maven is there, like Jenkins is there. These are the utilities that may not gonna work till the time it will not find Java on your machine. So whenever we'll be configuring Maven, Jenkins, we're not going to tell them, okay, Java is here on my machine. They'll automatically come to know where exactly Java is. For that purpose, we need to configure Java globally on our machine. As in, we need to set up some system environment variables for Java. So how are we going to do that? This is the root folder, the JDK one. Just copy this path. Copy this path and go to your computer. A lot of files over here. This PC, just right click, go to properties. Click on advanced system settings and click on environment variables. So here you can see a lot of things are already configured. Don't try to delete or modify any of the existing thing. Just look at this system variable. Don't do anything in the user variable. In system variable, click on new and create a new variable with the name Java_home and paste this JDK folder path over here. So once you're done with this, you need to go a little down. You'll find Java home over here. See the variable that we have created. Go a little down. You're going to find a path variable over here. These are your global system settings. If you edit this, you're going to see a lot of things already configured. Your Windows System 32 library and a lot of other programs as well. So at times when you install Windows, these settings are done by default. So you'll not be doing any edit or deletion in that. Otherwise, you might hamper your existing running program or might corrupt your Windows as well. So the only thing you need to do, simply click on new, go to the end and type percentage java underscore home percentage. So when you write this percentage java home percentage, you are actually calling this value, the java home value over here, up till JDK folder. And Java is inside this bin folder inside JDK. So this is where Java is. So you need to give this path over here. So after percentage Java home percentage backslash bin. That is how you need to configure the environment variable for Java. So once you are done with this, see, I've already given this thing over here, so I'm not going to redo it. I'll delete it. Once you're done with it, click on OK, click on OK, click on OK, and Java is successfully configured. This is the one-time configuration that you need to do for Java Home, right? Yes, Viva, you need to download this version itself. Download 2020-03, that is a more stable one, right? So once you are done with configuring Java, the next thing is to download Eclipse. So the stable version, I'll again gonna show it to you. So don't download it directly from here. Go to download packages. And then try downloading this 2020-03. So try downloading this one, right? So if you download the latest one, it may not gonna work if you have JDK 1.8. It may require the latest Java or Java 11 and above. Right. So once you're done with this, then you're done with like configuring the first two prerequisites, that is JDK and Eclipse ID. Now you can start with your project and you can practice your Java part, or you can start with the Selenium part. So yesterday what we did, we created a new project over here when we launched Eclipse. So we're going to create a new project. Let's say I'll right click over here, say new, and then Java project. And just a moment. How about the Mac configuration? See, for Mac, the environment variable setup is little different. You need to do it in your bash profile. So in case you need some assistance for Mac, although I've already added that stuff in the video lecture, you can go through that as well. Or else I'll give you the configuration. You just need to add it in your bash profile. I know there are some Mac users as well. So in case you face any issues in configuration, then I'll suggest you just watch this particular video. So let me show it to you. So you need to go to this particular course. And if you go down, you're gonna find it over here. Just a moment. Expand it. So this is Selenium configuration on Mac OS X. How you gonna configure Java, download, configure Eclipse. So just watch these two lectures, and this is just like 5-minute lectures, and you should be able to configure it on Mac easily. Right? So I'm going to share you this recording. All right, so let's create a new project. So I'll name it as Selenium Testing. And let's try to handle a couple of scenarios. So I'm going to click on finish. We are not going to do much coding today. Coding part we're going to start from our next session, right? So people who are not familiar with Java programming, don't worry about it. We are just doing a little bit configuration to see how we're going to launch different browsers, and we're going to integrate some other part as well, right? So the very first thing, we're going to create a new class, right click inside the SRC folder, say new, and create a new class. And name it as, you could give any name, I'll say test browsers, and click on public static void main. So we're going to see a sample code over here. remove these comments. Now we're gonna get started with the Chrome browser first. We have seen this part in yesterday's session as well. Package, yes, we'll be dealing with packages as well. Right now I have not created any package, so it has gone inside default package. But yes, we're gonna deal with packages as well soon. So we're gonna create packages for different classes. Right. So right now we are trying to configure browser. So first browser, we're gonna start with Chrome browser. In order to do automation on Chrome browser, there's a class called as Chrome driver. So I'm going to create an object of this class, Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. That's it. Now I'm getting some errors over here. Can anyone tell me why we are getting error? Why Eclipse is not able to understand what this Chrome driver is? If you do a mouse over, Eclipse is saying cannot be resolved to a type. Create a class Chrome driver. Why should I create a class Chrome driver? It is already there in Selenium. So why Eclipse is not able to understand it? This is because we have not added the jar file, right? How this project will gonna come to know what is Selenium, what is Chrome driver? That is a project of a different organization, right? So we need to go to that organization, that website, and we need to download the Selenium jar from here. So we'll go to the main website of Selenium dev, and then go to downloads, and then we'll be downloading this 3.141.59. This is going to give us one single jar file. This we have already downloaded yesterday, so I'm not going to re-download it. So I've kept it somewhere in my D drive and jars. So this is the jar file. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this location. I'll go inside Eclipse and I'll right click on my project, go to build path, add external archives, and go to this location where I have this jar file and click on open. That's it. So I've imported the jar file. Still, I'm getting error. The error is not yet gone. I mean, I'm still getting red lines over here. Why? Why it is not yet fixed? Anyone? Import, exactly. Now this class is inside some package. Like if you have worked with C, C++, you must have done something like include conio.h, include studio.h. Similarly in Java, when we call classes, these classes are inside different packages. So very first statement we need to write is the import statement to add this class. So which class, which package this class is inside, you can take a look over here. You need to go to this Java document where you're going to find this class. See, if you go little up, you'll get the information of this class. So the class is Chrome driver. And this class, Chrome driver, is inside this package. org openqa selenium.chrome. So if I go over here, if I write org dot, see I started getting suggestions. So openqa org.openqa.selenium.chrome, and see all the errors are gone. But you need not to remember all these things. This is like the stuff that Eclipse should handle automatically. So whenever you add any class, just do a mouse over on that class, you'll get an option import. Click on this and you can see it is automatically added. Right? So you need not to worry about it. This is the task of Eclipse. Now, as the error are no more there, just simply click on run button and see what happens. We encounter another exception over here. The exception is saying illegal state exception. Path to driver executable must be set by WebDriver.Chrome.Driver system property. Now, what is this? We have seen this in yesterday's session as well. So every browser, they need their own API in order to do the communication. So system.set property is something through which you can configure this property. See, I'm going to copy this, and what I need to do is I need to provide the path to the driver executable. If you look at this exception again, so what it is saying, the path to the driver executable must be set by this system property. So I need to write something like, I need to set the system property, system dot set property, and this value I need to give it over here, WebDriver.Chrome.Driver, and in this value I need to provide the path to the Chrome driver executable file, which I'm gonna get it once I go to the Selenium website to downloads. If I go down little bit, I'm gonna see browsers over here. If I open this, we're gonna see different browsers. I'll go to Chrome, go to their documentation, and there might be different versions that you see over here, 85, 86. You need to make sure you're downloading the one which is equivalent to your browser version. So if you click on About Chrome, it is 86.0.42. So if you go over here, 86.0.42, you need to download this one. So if you click on this, you're gonna see option for Linux, Mac, Windows. We're gonna download it for Windows. We've already downloaded it. So if I open this, this was Chrome. We downloaded it over here. This is the Chrome driver. So what you need to do, just copy this path. Copy this path, go to Eclipse, paste it over here. So whenever the path is in backslash, Eclipse automatically convert into double backslash because single backslash is not supported. And then you need to give the file name over here, chromedriver.exe. That's it. So what we did, we have added something like system.set property. We have given this property that we were getting an exception, and then we have added the path to our Chrome driver exe file. Now if I save this and run this, let's see what happens. See, it is saying starting Chrome, and see our browser is launched. So this is the main file that was required. If you don't add this file, it will gonna give you exception. It will not gonna launch the Chrome browser. You're immediately gonna get exception. So we have seen one of the way how to add it using system property. The simple way is to copy this file and go to your project, right click and paste it over here. That's it. And run this again. See? No need to give system.set property. Again, the browser is launched. Right? Now, once the browser is launched, we want to navigate to a particular website as well. Just a moment. Which is the better way? The better way is yet to be covered. Right? These are the two ways we have seen. I'm going to show you the third way, which is better than these two ways. Okay, now let's navigate to a website. So I'm going to say driver.get, the very first method, which asks you for a URL in string format. So I'm going to give the URL http waytoautomation.com. Save this, run this again. And this should navigate to waytoautomation.com. Right? So this is how we have done the configuration for Chrome driver. Now let's see one more browser, that is Firefox driver. In case you want to work on Firefox, just change the class name to Firefox driver equal to new Firefox driver. And then do a mouse over, import this Firefox driver. Save it. And run this. Again, we got some exception. Let's see. Again, same exception. The path to driver executable must be set by WebDriver.gecko.driver. So see, every browser has got its own API. It's not like once we have added the Chrome driver exe, then all the browsers will gonna work. For all the browsers, you need their own APIs for the communication. So again, you're gonna go to the Selenium website and go to the downloads page again. And over here, we'll look for Firefox. And Firefox will be downloading the latest one. You're gonna find it over here in the Gecko driver releases. So latest one is 0.27.0. If I go over here, I should be able to see it. See, yeah, here it is available for Windows 32-bit, 64-bit, and then Linux and Mac as well. I'm on 64-bit machine, so I'll be downloading this one. So let me download this. And it's over here in my downloads, Gecko driver. So I'm gonna extract it. Copy this Gecko driver, and same thing, we're gonna paste it to our project. So let's run this now and see if Firefox works. See, it has launched the Firefox browser, and now it should navigate to waytoautomation.com on Firefox. Right? So this is how you should be launching the browser. So this is the initial configuration that you need to do. See, console output is just the browser debug messages that is actually showing in console output. These are just the information. This is the information. So don't worry about it. You can ignore these messages. Right? So this is how we have seen how we can configure Chrome, how we can configure Firefox. But I mean, there is something that you may gonna face very frequently when working on Selenium, that right now the Chrome version that we have downloaded was 86, right? In few days you're gonna see version 87. Then you're gonna see version 89, because Chrome updates automatically, right? The Chrome browser that is there on your machine, it updates automatically. But with Firefox, it is not like that. If Firefox right now version is 70, it might not automatically update to 71, right? It will ask you to update, right? Then you're gonna update it to 71. But whenever you are updating your browsers, it doesn't mean that, I mean, the file that you have downloaded over here will always gonna work. This will be supported with your current version of browser only. If the browser version is 87 and you are using the 86 version Chrome driver exe, it may or it may not work. So what next you need to do, you again need to go to the Selenium website downloads page, and you need to download the updated Chrome driver exe. So this is something that you need to make sure whenever a new browser is, you need to download the new executable file. And at times it may happen that currently the Selenium version is 3.141.59. After some time you may gonna find it 4.0. Then you may find it 4.1. So what is this 3.14? What is this 4.0? These are the build numbers. These are the releases. So whenever there is a new functionality added, they actually increment the build number. If you want to see the release history, I'm going to show it to you from here. So it will be more clear to you. So this is like with every development life cycle. If you have worked like in a software organization, you may have seen project releases. So you may have seen the very first version of the project, then the next version, then some builds are incrementing whenever a developer is checking some code, some new functionalities added, there's a new release version. So same thing happens with the Selenium project as well. This is also one of the project, right? A development project. If you go down, you'll see something called as change log over here. If you click on this, you're gonna see all these different versions. So whatever that they are enhancing, whatever new functionality they are adding, they are actually maintaining a log over here. So what was there in 3.14, what was prior to that, whenever new functionality is added, they write all these comments over here. And this they are maintaining since the version 2 itself. See, from long time they are maintaining 2.1, right? So right now, I mean, it happens that 3.141.59, which is the stable release, this is not yet incremented to the actual stable 4.0 version. From past so many months, it is still alpha version, and the recent one is alpha 6. But it happens, I mean, even in Selenium, you're going to find after every few months there is a new jar file that is coming up in the market. So what you need to do, you need to update your project with the latest jar file, because latest jar file will going to have latest functionality. It may happen that your latest browsers might going to support the latest jar file, might not be working with the previous version of jar file. It happens. If I add Selenium 2 some version right now and try to run this code, it will not gonna work. This code will only gonna work with Selenium 3.14. Although the code that I've written is same that we used to write in Selenium 2 as well. Firefox driver class is there in 3 as well as it was there in 2 as well. So coding is same. But if I use Selenium 2 jar file instead of 3, this will not gonna work right now. It might not gonna launch the browser or might not gonna navigate. So this is what you need to make sure. Whenever you're working on Selenium, you need to have a latest jar file, you need to have a latest browser, and you need to have the latest browser executable file. So this you need to do a manual configuration all the time. And this is not just with Selenium. Right now, you have seen I've added only Selenium Jar. When yesterday we talked about that Selenium is just 25% in your project. There are other integrations as well that we'll be doing. If you look over here, we'll be using TestNG, we'll be using Log4j, we'll be using JDBC, we'll be using Excel, and there are different versions associated with it. These are also projects. These are also Java project. Like Selenium is a Java project, JDBC is also a Java project, Log4j is also a Java project. So in case if you want to add, let's say for Excel reading POI API, if I go to build path, add external archive, like I've added Selenium Jar, I'll go to my downloads, I'll add this POI API, I'll add this MySQL, I add different jar files, and all jar files have different versions. These are their project release version. Selenium is 3.14, MySQL is 8.02, POI is 4.12, right? So if Selenium project, there are enhancement in these projects as well. MySQL was not started with 8.0, it was started with 1.0, and then now it has reached to 8.0. So it may happen that after a few months or few weeks, you might gonna see 9.0 with some new functionality. Same thing with POI. After a few months, you may gonna see a new project, a new release. Then you may need to update these jar files as well. So now you can see I've added 3 jar files. But when you work in a real-time project, you may end up adding 50 to 60 jar files of different APIs into same project, having different versions, right? So at times when we are working in a big organization where we have a lot of automation test engineers working in the same project, this task could be a little challenging. So now this is a very important concept that we are going to cover right now. So how are we gonna practically, let's say, handle the scenario where we are working in an automation team where there are more than 10 automation test engineers and every one is assigned with their own automation module. Like for a particular website, everyone is assigned with a different module and they have to automate. They need to write some automation script for it. So let's say if I take up a scenario, uh, let's say there's an organization where there are different testers. So tester A is there, B is there, C is there, D is there, E is there, right? Everyone is working on the same project. So they are using Selenium itself. Selenium with, let me reduce the font size. Give me a moment. Selenium with version 3. Let's say 1. Then they are using POI with version 4.0. MySQL with version 8.1.2, right? So every team is following the same project. They have same set of jar files. And this is tester A, this is tester B, and so on. So this tester is working on some different module like a login window. This tester is working on some registration page. Now, at the end of the day, what happens is whatever code that they have written, everyone has to check in their code to a centralized repository, right? You must be knowing this process. If you are in a software team, you must be knowing that whatever code that developers write, they need to check into a centralized repository. That centralized repository could be SVN or could be GitHub, whichever your company is maintaining, right? So 90% of the companies are currently using GitHub because GitHub is on a cloud network, can be accessed from a URL as well, right? SVN is majorly local to the intranet, right? So, but the process that we are discussing right now, whatever code that these testers are writing, they have to put it onto a centralized repository at the end of the day. And why this is important? Because it may happen that the tester B's laptop got crashed. So whatever code that they have written, that tester B has written, should not gonna go away with that crash, right? Or may happen that tester C has left the organization. So if he has left the organization, he may not gonna take the entire code away with him, right? So that is the reason at the end of the day, everyone has to check in their code so that it should be put in a centralized repository and can be merged. And when they come for the very next day, let's say there's a new tester joins in the team. Tester E joins a team. So what he can do, instead of asking for the code, he'll check out the code from this GitHub repository and he'll gonna get the entire code. Whatever that A, B, C, D have written, he'll gonna get the entire updated code. And he can go through that particular code, right? So whatever that everyone checks in, the next day, everyone take a fresh checkout of that code so that they should get all the updated code. But this is about the coding part. Whenever tester A is checking the code or B is checking the code or C is checking the code, they are never checking these jar files because we never check in the jar file. We only check in the coding part. Right? Code can be merged. Jar files cannot be merged. Right? We always check in the coding part only. We never check in the jar files. Now let's take one of the scenario. As a tester A, right now all the testers are working on Selenium version 3.1. But let's say I'm tester A. I downloaded latest Selenium version, that is Selenium 4.0. There were some new classes introduced in Selenium 4. Some new functionality was there. So what I did, I updated my existing code with Selenium 4 functionality. And at the end of the day, I've checked in the code to the GitHub repository. Next day, when everyone will take a fresh checkout from GitHub, everyone will gonna get this updated code of Selenium 4 with new classes. But they'll start facing issues because new classes are not there on their inside their project. They are still using Selenium 3 jar file. Only I am using Selenium 4, but they are still using, rest of the testers are still using Selenium 3. So once they get the updated code of Selenium 4, they'll start getting errors because Eclipse will not be able to identify where these classes are coming from. Although what happens when I have checked in the code, I have mentioned in the coding comment that in case you want to use the project now, you need to download the latest Selenium 4 jar file. So now what everyone in the team will gonna do, they'll start downloading Selenium 4. They'll go to Selenium website and download the latest version, and they'll be fixing their issues that they are facing in their classes. Now this is not just about Selenium. It may happen that this tester has updated POI to version 5. This tester has updated log4j to version 7. This tester may have added 2-3 more new jar files. Now at the end of the day, everyone is checking the code. Very next day, when everyone take a fresh checkout of the code, everyone will start getting errors. Why? Because there are so many updations happen in the jar file. Jar files were never checked in. So what next day team will gonna do? They'll end up wasting the entire day in fixing the issues. They'll gonna go to different websites, download the latest version of jar files, and they're gonna sync their project so that it should start working. Right? So at times when we are working in a big team, these are some of the real-time challenges which we actually gonna face. So not just about the jar file, about the browser executable, we need to update it all the time. All the time download the Chrome driver exe, Gecko driver exe, all the time download the latest jar files and sync our project. So there should be some process that should actually, there should be some utility that should automate the entire process of downloading these dependencies, of downloading the Chrome driver or the Gecko driver that is required for Firefox. There should be something which should automate the entire process. So that is what we will be doing it now with the help of a dependency. So see, our project is dependent on these jar files. MySQL, POI, Selenium. So these are called as dependencies. Right? We call them as jar files, but they are also called as dependencies. So our project is dependent on these jar files. So there is a tool which is a dependency management tool. Plus it is also called as a build tool. Now building part, we're going to take a look at it later on. First we need something to automatically manage our jar files, our dependencies. So for that, we'll be configuring something called as Maven. So Maven is one of the build tool which will actually gonna automate this entire process, so that we need not to manually go to Selenium website all the time and download the jar file, download the executable file. All these things will automatically gonna happen. And how this thing will gonna happen? It's a very simple process. No coding involved. So don't worry, we are not going to write any code. It's a very simple configuration process. What you need to do is, no, Jenkins is something else. And Jenkins is something different. Jenkins is not going to do this stuff. Jenkins will actually going to give a call to Maven, and Maven will going to do this stuff. So Jenkins will going to come later on in the picture. Right? Yeah, continuous integration. CI, CD. That's a different process. So what of the POM? So POM is a file which is in Maven. Right? There are two things. One is pom.xml file, Maven, and one is page object model. That is a framework. That is a different stuff. Right? That is a design pattern. So let's first see what Maven is and how we're going to configure Maven. So it's very simple. You just need to go to Google and type download Maven. And you're going to see Maven over here, the very first link. So all these things are being recorded. So in case, this is what you need to do in the coming week. You need to have all these things configured on your machine. It should be up and running, right? So I'm going to share you the recording. Just try doing these configuration on your machine. These are very important before we get started with Selenium, right? So this is the one that we should be downloading. This Apache Maven 3.63 bin zip file. I've already downloaded it. I have, I think, the same version. So I'll go to my D drive, softwares. Yeah, 3.6.3. I think this is the version that is the latest, 3.6.3. Yeah. So once you download it, you'll get the zip file, unzip it, you're going to get a folder. Open this. This is the Apache Maven folder. You'll not find anything installable. There's nothing installable in Maven. Maven, you'll find it inside bin folder. This is Maven. Now what you need to do, you need to configure Maven globally on your machine. Like the way we did with JDK, Java, same thing, copy this root folder. Inside this root folder, Maven is in bin folder. Go to your environment variables. So there's a shortcut, type edit in start, and you'll see edit system environment variable. Directly you should be able to reach it over here. Click on environment variable, create a new system variable with the name mvn_home and paste this value, right? Pointing to this Apache Maven folder. Click on OK, you'll see Maven home showing up over here. Then go to your path variable, edit it and type %maven_home% /bin. Give the bin directory path over here, like we did with Java home bin. Same thing you need to do with Maven home bin. Once you are done with it, click on OK, click on OK, click on OK, and Maven is successfully configured. Now go to command prompt and type from any location. See, I'm on my root directory. Maven is configured on a different location. I can go to any location and type mvn-version. Should actually show you the current version of Maven, Java. If you get all these messages, it means Maven is successfully configured on your machine. Go to any location. Even if you go to C drive, even if you go to C drive and type mvn-version, you should be able to see the same message. Go to any location, you should be able to access Maven, you should be able to access Java anywhere globally on your machine. Okay, you went to Maven website, but you're not able to see this. You directly need not to go to Maven website. Simply type download Maven. Or go to this, this is the link. If you want, I can copy and paste. Or directly I'll give you the link of Maven zip file. You can directly click on this and should be able to download it. Just send it. Yeah. So just try with this particular file. Right, so once Maven is successfully configured, Apache POI, you don't need it right now. Once we come to that lecture, then you should be downloading it. And where to download this, I'm gonna let you know. Right, I was just taking an example of POI, but you don't need it right now. So now let's go back to the project. Maven is successfully configured. I'm going to close this project. I'll save this first. Now, when I have created this project, this was a simple Java project where we were manually adding a lot of things over here. Now, I'm not going to use a simple Java project. I'm going to close this project. So close project. And I am going to create a new project, not Java project. Click on project. And if you go down, you'll find Maven inside your Eclipse as well. Maven comes inbuilt in Eclipse. In all latest version of Eclipse, Maven is inbuilt. So if you open this, expand it, click on Maven project, click on next. This is again, you're creating a Java project only, but you are following some standard, some industry standard. Create a simple project. Everyone in industry is using some build tool. Maven is very popular, very widely used, right? See, you can see something like group ID, something that says artifact ID. Group ID is your domain name, like mine is way2automation.com. So I'm gonna write in reverse order, com.way2automation, W2A. Then artifact ID is your project name. Project name could be anything. I'll name it as Selenium Maven project. And rest of the thing you need not to worry about it. So this is the very first version of your project, 0.0.1. Once you compile the project, it will going to generate a jar file out of your project as well. Rest, no need to fill any other information. Click on finish and you're going to see the same Java project showing up over here as well. But the only thing you'll notice, it is in very small letter. With a plain Java project, you're going to see J over here. With Maven Java project, you're going to see M and J over here. Once you are using Maven for the very first time, it may going to take a little while to sync your project, right? You may going to see a lot of things being downloaded over here. Right now, it is not on my machine because I've already configured Maven. But now, if you expand this, now you see a different package structure over here, different folder structure over here. With simple Java project, it was like SRC folder. But here you see 1, 2, 3, 4 SRC folder. Then you see something like main, 2 main folder, 2 test folder, 1 Java, 1 resource, 1 Java, 1 resource. Give me a moment, guys. Right? So what are these things? See, if I go to this HSBC Bank project, if I go to the root of this project, if I enter this, and this is the location. So go to your project, do Alt Enter, you should be able to reach to this location and open this. This is your HSBC Bank project. Inside your HSBC project, you'll see one SRC folder. See, this is the SRC folder. If you expand this SRC folder, you're going to see your banking.java. If I open this, you're going to see banking.java. This is where your class is, right? Now, we'll go back and we're going to see Selenium Maven project. We have 4 source folder. These are not 4. This is only 1. If you open it, you'll see only 1. Right? Now, under the SRC folder, you'll see main and test written 2 times, but you'll find it 1 main and 1 test. Inside main, you'll find Java resources. Inside test, you'll find Java resources. Right? Now, why it is designed in such a way? This is something like an industry standard. So whenever we are working in a development project, all the coding part and business logic is actually written inside these 2 folders, the main folder. And anything related to testing, could be unit testing, could be integration testing, could be automation testing, is done inside these 2 folders. So all the testing part will gonna done inside these test folders. Inside it, you'll see Java and resources. Java includes all your .java files. So whatever test cases you are going to design, Java code you are going to write will be inside this test Java folder. Folder we call it as package in Java, right? And resources will gonna contain your Excel file, XML file, text file, right? Anything that is not Java will come inside resources. So as a tester, as an automation tester, we'll be working on these packages for the time being. We'll be using only test packages. And for writing code, we'll be doing it inside SRC test Java only. Right? So this is how the things actually works in industry. So we'll be following only SRC test Java for the time being. There is one more SRC folder as well below test folder. Here your compiled files are kept. Don't worry about this SRC right now. So once, if you have a little understanding of Java, then you must be knowing that once the Java is compiled, there is .class file generated. So that is kept over here. So that thing we're going to cover it later on. That is not for right now. Okay. So we'll be using this one only. And if you want to create your own folder, your own package, you can just right click over here, say new, click on package. Create one package called as test cases. So packages are like folder. If you go to this location of your project, I think I have closed that. So if I again open it, you're going to see a folder created only. So inside this Java, you'll have another folder, test cases. And then inside this, you can create your class. So like we have created a class with the name test browser and check this main method. Click on finish. Right? So this is the same class. Same Java project. Just following an industry standard to maintain the code in different folders, different packages. So all the test cases should gonna come inside this src test Java folder inside a project, right? And now we'll start with the Selenium classes. So one of the classes, Chrome driver. So I'm gonna create an object of Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. And obviously we're gonna get error. Why? Because we have not imported Chrome driver class. If you mouse over, you'll not see any option to import because Chrome driver is in a different project, right? It's in a Selenium project. We need to add that Selenium jar over here. Like the way we did in previous project, we need to right click, we need to go to build path, add external archives, and then add this jar file. But this is again like adding the jar file manually. We need to come out of this manual process. We'll not be adding the jar file manually now. So what we'll do, you see something like pom.xml file. This is the heart of Maven. This is a Maven project. It runs through this pom.xml file only. If you open this pom.xml file, you see something like XML tags over here. This is your project information, your group ID, your artifact ID is the project name, the version of your project. Now this project is dependent on many other projects. This project is dependent on Selenium project, is dependent on POI project, is dependent on JDBC project. So if I go to Selenium website where I was downloading that jar file, which is the website selenium.dev. I go to this website and I go to download. So if I go down, you're gonna see this is what we have downloaded, right? Over here somewhere you're gonna see some Maven information as well. They have actually changed the UI. So Maven, let's see where they have kept it. So if I do Control F, Maven, information for Maven users, previous release. Yeah, over here. Previous list, complete list can be seen here. Okay, so this is again an individual jar file only. So maybe they have moved it somewhere. Yeah. If you are using Maven, you'll find more information here. Click on this. So Maven, pom.xml, you see something like group ID. We have our project group ID. This is my project. Then we have artifact ID, which is the project name. Artifact ID, project name, Selenium Java. Group ID, org.seleniumhq. Okay, initially the website name was this. They are still using the same group ID. They have not changed it to dev.selenium. It's still org. This was the old website. And the current version 3.14, 1.59. So this is called as dependency. Now what I'll do, I'll go to my project and add one tag called as dependencies. And inside this tag, I'll do one thing. I'll copy this and paste it here and do save. Control S. And in some time, what happens is you see a Maven dependency folder over here. If you expand it, you'll see all the Selenium jars automatically downloaded, right? So all the jar files are downloaded to your machine. Maybe you don't want to use 3.1415.59 version. See, I was actually searching for the jar by doing Control F and looking for the Maven information. Instead of looking it on the Selenium dev, there is a centralized repository for Maven. Go to mvnrepository.com. Any Java project, Apache POI, JDBC, Log4j, TestNG, any Java project, they're checking their jar files on this centralized repository. Even if we talk about Selenium, just type Selenium, you'll see Selenium Java project over here. Click on this, see all the different jars. You don't want to use 14159, you want to use 133.131. Click on this, see, copy this dependency, go to pom.xml, and instead of this, paste this one, save. So once you add this, in some time you're going to see the jars are changed to 3.13 version. Right? Now you want to include POI as well. So just search for POI. This is the POI. You'll find all jar files over here. Copy this dependency. Go to your pom.xml. Paste it. And then you're going to see POI 4.1.2 over here. You want JDBC, MySQL, type MySQL. Get this dependency, copy this, and paste it here. Paste it. That's it. And then you're going to see MySQL as well. MySQL. Whichever Selenium version you want, just change the version over here. You want the latest one, 141.59. Save this. You'll see all the jars should change to 14159. But how fast are they being downloaded? They are not downloading, these are not being downloaded right now. These are already downloaded on my machine. When I've used Maven for the very first time, all these dependencies, when I've used it, were downloaded at that point of time. And is actually downloaded on my local machine. Maven has created a local repository on my machine. So that local repository is inside your C drive, users, your profile name, and you'll see a .m2 folder over here. Right? Guys, don't try to learn these steps right now. Everything is being recorded. Just try to understand the concept only. And wherever you're not able to understand, you can ask me, I can repeat it. Right? But don't try to learn it and don't try to practice it right now. You'll be getting recording, then you can practice it by watching that recording. So if I open this M2 folder, you'll see repository. If I open this, so all these different organization, if I talk about Selenium, that is org, then you're gonna find Selenium HQ over here, org, then Selenium HQ. This is Selenium HQ. You'll find Selenium, you'll find Selenium Java over here. And see, all these versions are already there on my machine. If I switch in between any of these versions, the jar should be picked from my local machine itself. But see, if I talk about this alpha version, if I go back over here for Selenium, I have alpha version starting Selenium 3, Selenium alpha 3, but I don't have this alpha 2. So if I copy this and if I go over here and if I change this to alpha 2, you can see there is a folder right now where you can see alpha 3, alpha 5, alpha 6. I don't have alpha 2. So if I save this now, you're gonna see it is actually starting downloading it from Maven repository itself. Right now it is not yet synced. Right now it is showing 3.140. When it is downloaded completely, then it will gonna change to 4.0 alpha 2. And now if you look at the local repository, you will see 4 alpha 2 is added over here, right? So this is how Maven first check it on your local repository. If it finds that particular version of jar file in local repository, it will sync it from there. Otherwise, it will download it from the centralized repository. Yeah, same thing for VM as well. But you should be connected to internet when you are working on Maven. Right, anyways, you'll be automating a website, so you should be connected to internet. Right? So we'll come back to the version 3.141.59 because we'll be using this version only. And for the time being, I'm going to remove this MySQL or POI. We don't need these. Right? We need only the Selenium jar file. Now, if I go to my class, if I mouse over onto this, I should get an option for import. Right? And now, where is the list of software that Maven will download to local repository? List of softwares? I didn't get that question, Pavan. List of software that Maven will download. Maven is actually going to download the jar files only to the local repository. Right, so if I run this code right now, it will error out. And why it errored out? Because we are missing the path to the executable, right? Chrome driver executable. Now we have automated the process of downloading the jars, right? Next time when you check in the code, you're not going to check in the jar file, but you're going to check in this pom.xml file. So whosoever developer takes the fresh checkout of the code, he'll get this pom.xml and automatically all the jars will going to sync to his machine. Whatever the version is mentioned over here, it will automatically going to sync all the jars with that version. So you need not to go to different website and download the jar files. But what about the browser executable? Do we still need to manually download that? Now this process can also be automated. How? There is a dependency called as WebDriver Manager. Like we have a Selenium project. This is another project, automatic Selenium WebDriver binaries management in runtime. So if you go over here, you see the latest version. Just copy this dependency. Copy this jar file, paste it over here. In your pom.xml file, just paste it over here. You're gonna see it showing up over here. This is WebDriver Manager. Now this is a jar file. What jar file consists of? Different classes, different packages, different methods, right? Like Selenium Jar contains a class called as Chrome driver. This WebDriver Manager jar contains a class called as WebDriver Manager. And then I'll say I'll call the method Chrome driver dot setup. That's it. No need to give any executable file. Just call this method, whichever browser version that is currently running on your machine, it will automatically gonna download that version of Chrome driver exe and will gonna launch your browser. See, no need to provide any path, no need to download the exe, whichever browser you are using. In case you want to work on Firefox driver equal to new Firefox driver, just change this to Firefox driver. No need to go to their website and then run this. You're going to see this time it will download the Firefox Gecko driver executable automatically at the background, and we encounter some error. Let's see. Okay, so this has to deal with my profile. I think I have started that services initially, which is actually breaking this one. Maybe if I run this again, it may work, or I need to go to task manager and need to remove some of the things. Let's see. Yeah, it worked, right? So it launched the Firefox browser. So that is how it works. I mean, you need not to worry about the executable files now. So we have automated this entire process of downloading all the jars, of downloading the browser executable. Now we need not to worry about this process. We can keep on continuing with the code, and all the jars should get synced. The executable should get downloaded automatically. Next time, if Chrome is automatically updated, you just need to run the code and automatically the browser executable will gonna get downloaded. And it is downloaded in your Maven local repository itself. If you go over here, you're gonna see that thing inside this repository. You're gonna see a folder over here, WebDriver. If you open this, see Chrome driver, Gecko driver, IE driver. And if you open this Chrome driver, you're gonna find, see, this is the recent version that is added, yesterday itself. So this is the one, Chrome driver. So all the browser version Chrome driver is automatically downloaded. This I have not manually downloaded it. This is automatically downloaded for Firefox, for IE, right? This is what the benefit of this WebDriver manager. Right, but yes, you need to download Firefox browser is a prerequisite. The browser should be there on your machine. Yeah, dependencies are always added in pom.xml. See, whenever you create a Maven project, automatically you'll see that pom.xml file. See, these are Selenium jars are basically, we have seen one single jar file, right? That is one standalone jar file. That is a combination of all these jar files. So here you're gonna see different jar files based on different modules. But all these are clubbed into one single standalone jar file. So if you manually download, you download that one. Otherwise, these are the one which are these are all dependent jars. So that's the reason we have different module-wise jars which are checked in by Selenium. We just downloaded this 3.141 and all these are dependent to Selenium jars. So they will automatically gonna get downloaded. Right, there are some jar files. If you manually download the Selenium Java, might it might happen that your code might not gonna work. Then it will ask you for a dependent jar file. So when you use Maven, all the dependent jar files are automatically added. You need not to worry about it. Right? So that's about it. We're gonna do this thing. Up till this much for today. So we are done with the configuration that we require in order to start working on the coding part, right? Coding part we're gonna get started with our next session. And people who have joined for the demo session, you will be starting with your core Java classes first from the next session. And once you're done with the core Java, then you'll be joining back to me for the WebDriver part, right? So we'll be covering page object model. We're gonna cover page factory. We're gonna cover keyword driven approach. We're gonna cover data driven approach. So all these frameworks will be covered. We'll be designing the entire framework from scratch. Each and every single line of code I'll be designing from scratch. Timings will remain the same. Jenkins will gonna cover, Maven will gonna cover. Cucumber, we are not going to cover in the live session, but you will gonna have access to all the Cucumber series, right? I've shown you 7 live projects, video recordings yesterday, so you're gonna have access to that. So once your base is built up, once you know how to work on framework, then Cucumber is just another jar file. You need to add and implement the Cucumber part. In case you got stuck anywhere, then I'll gonna assist you in that. Yeah, that's fine. If it is working fine, if that version of Eclipse is working fine on your machine, then that's fine, no need to remove it. Git, again, it is already there in the video library because it is something for checking in and checking out the code itself. It's a very simple configuration part. It has nothing to do with the coding part. So like you can go through that from the video recording itself. So see, if you look at the video recordings, the course over here, these video recordings are over 100 hours just for the Selenium. So these are over 100 hours of recording, and the WebDriver part that we are going to cover for 7 weeks is somewhere around 28 to 30 hours of WebDriver, 28 to 30 hours of Java. So somewhere around 50 hours or 60 hours of sessions we'll be doing. But these video recordings are over 100 hours. So it means what all topics that you need to work on Selenium, like you talked about Cucumber, if it is not there in the live session, you're going to find it in this particular video library. Same thing, you talked about Git. If you search for Git, you're going to find all the Git commands over here, Git, GitHub, how to configure it. So all these things is already there. But Jenkins is something we're going to cover, Maven will going to cover, all the extent reports we're going to cover, right? So these are the things we'll be covering here. Right? So Ambarish, you're saying, can I immediately access these recordings? Yeah, I mean, I believe a lot of you are already enrolled, and most of the people are attending other demo session as well. People who are already enrolled must have access to all these videos, so you can try going through it. And rest, once you are enrolled, then you're gonna get access to all these videos. So this will be a lifetime access, right? You're gonna get access to this. Plus, you're going to get access to the mobile automation library as well. This is the entire APM, somewhere on 70 hours of APM videos. These are the automation architect. So you're going to get complete access to the automation architect. These are 7 live projects, very detailed frameworks. So you're going to get access to this. See, this is a portal which is linked to way2automation.com website itself. So in case you go to Way2Automation, you need to log in to your account through this part only. If you click on member login, it will gonna take you to the same website itself, right? Right. Are these same videos? See, on Udemy, we cannot upload everything. So like 40 to 60% are there on Udemy, but majorly you're gonna find it over here. Right, all the live sessions, the latest part, you're gonna find it over here itself. Right, so that's about it. Just wait for my email. I'm gonna send you all the information, the detailed information in the email, along with today's session recording as well. So just go through that email. You're gonna get a very fair amount of idea what all things that we are going to cover and what all excess information, all the courses included in that excess information that you'll be getting, right? So in case someone is not from the manual testing background, then I'm gonna give you access, free access on this manual testing course, so that you can brush up your manual. These are from the live session recordings itself. So all the testing terminologies is actually covered over here. So this is from our recent batch itself. So you should be able to watch all the recordings from the recent batch, and you can brush up your manual testing knowledge as well. Yeah, live session video is already added. So live session recordings will be added over here, right? I'm gonna include the current batch, like these are the live session recordings. So this is from the August batch, which is done with Java and starting with WebDriver. So you can see how long the sessions are actually, right? So Selenium sessions are like 14 to 15 days. Right, so it's a huge course. I mean, we are going to cover so many topics, so don't worry about it. Classes on SQL queries are not there, but we're gonna do SQL integration. We're gonna write query fetch data from database and validate it from Selenium. Yes, WebDriver video for Java people will be added in the August batch. Rest, there will be a new batch created for the new joinees. That will be October batch. Right. That numbers, Raj, are not fixed, but I mean, you'll find half of the audience will gonna move to the Java batch in the next session. But sessions will be very interactive. Don't worry about it. What all questions you wanna ask? Right now, you have not asked me to unmute you, but I can unmute you. You can directly talk with me as well. See, SQL basic queries, if you know, that is very good, right? Because even if you are entering into testing field, basics of SQL, writing SQL queries, basic joins, these are mandatory these days. So you should be knowing that. Urfi, like if you're joining from beginning, then you'll be attending Java first and then Selenium. If you have already completed Java, then you'll be attending the Selenium part. Stanley specifically for SQL, I don't think right now it's not there, but we may gonna add it, the complete library on SQL. Right. So that's all, guys. Thanks a lot for joining, and I hope you have enjoyed these sessions. Then I hope to see you next week, and I'll be sending you all the information on your mail ID itself. Right. Okay. Another thing, like as Raj asked, like who'll be taking the Java session. See, for Java, we have a dedicated trainer, and he's a very experienced trainer. I'm gonna share you a couple of Java recordings. There are many people who have already taken training from him. Can also give you his feedback. So he's very, very good in core Java, right? I'll be taking all your Selenium sessions, all the framework designing, complete WebDriver, TestNG, Maven, Jenkins, all these things will be covered from by me. But we have a dedicated trainer on core Java who is dedicatedly giving you complete Java training. So you'll be expert in core Java, right? So I'm going to share you some of the core Java recordings as well. If you navigate to this URL, then you should be able to play these core Java recordings, and you should be able to see the training quality of the Java instructor as well. So it's very good in core Java part. All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Raj. All right, guys. So I hope you have enjoyed the session, and like we're gonna follow the same pace, right? Okay, training fee is like 10,000 for the entire course. It's one, and in case anyone joining outside India, then it's 149 USD, and the total duration is 3 months, right? But there's something special that I'm gonna send you over the email. So that's what. Just wait for my email, right? And you'll have the detailed information over there, right? Right. So you have whole 1 year access to the live program. So in case you want to repeat it a number of times, you can do that. So even if you are going out of town, then you're gonna get the recordings. So don't worry about it. How much SQL to learn, Kavita? You need to have a basic knowledge of writing queries. That is very mandatory. So all the basic joins and subqueries, complex queries. So these are some of the stuff that you should be knowing. Yeah. So next class for the new people will be on Java, on core Java itself. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. We are done, and I'll see you next weekend. Thank you, and take care of yourselves. Thank you, guys.